Well, hi, welcome back to the Fantasy Football Profits. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Rob Skutovic. And so here we are at Sunday night. We just finished the first day of football, the first full day of action. What an exciting day. And so it's late Sunday night. And what I want to do is I want to make a waiver wire pickup video for you guys. Talk about some people you should look at targeting coming up in the next week. Now, I don't know how your weekend was, good or bad. I don't know what. However it is, maybe you had a good week or bad week. Once again, if you've had a bad week, maybe you had some injuries, some of your guys struggled, and some of my guys struggled. In fact, a lot of big names, the NFL didn't put up big numbers. There's no need to panic. If you had a good weekend, maybe you won your games, your guys are looking great. Maybe you're that guy who drafted a Hunt and you feel like you're set. Don't get complacent. Continue to add on your team. Don't leave dead weight on your bench. Once again, like we have said, it really takes about 2 to 3 weeks before I think you can really begin to see trends in the NFL in terms of who's having that breakout year, who's struggling, who's really seeing playing time, where the target's going to go. So once again, don't be complacent, and yet don't worry if you had a bad week one. We're going to talk about some people that you can look at picking up. Some people, once again, that you can think about. We really want to get this out early so to give you some food for thought as you begin to click and put in your waiver claims for certain players. Now, we're going to give you some names today. Now, it's really difficult when we think in terms of doing a pickup video because there's so many players out there. And depending upon what league you're in, the scoring system, your waiver rules, the maturity of the people in your league. There's some people that I've been in leagues where they don't know a lot about football and they leave lots of talent out there. And I've been in other leagues that are very, very competitive and there's not a lot of talent out there. So once again, we're going to give you a few names. But really, once again, if you really want specific information, we encourage you to email us on our Facebook site, Fantasy Football Profits. If you do that, we'd be happy to give you more specific or detailed information based on your league, your rules, where you're at. But once again, here's just a few names. Now, why would you be looking at a pickup? Well, once again, pretty much injuries at this point are ineffectiveness or just building your bench. We don't have any bye weeks this week, unless, of course, there's another hurricane, and God forbid that happens. So we're praying and continue to pray for the people down in Florida. So here's just a few names that you guys might want to take a look at and consider in terms of waiver wire pickups. The first big name out there, and I know a lot of people are going to talk about this guy this week, Tarik Cohen. Now, this guy was explosive. He looked great for Chicago. He had 5 rushes for 66 yards. He had 8 catches for 47 yards in the TD. Now, he also had a great preseason, okay? Now, I want to caution you a bit here because I know this guy's going to be hyped up. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the #1 waiver claim out there in all leagues. He's going to be a guy hotly sought after. Now, he did look great. He did look explosive. Now, I think what you're going to find out here, if we get away from all the hype, okay, and I want to caution you to stay away from the hype. This guy's explosive and he has PPR value, but I think people are overreacting a little bit in his game one. In fact, Yahoo experts, and I can't believe this, Yahoo experts, once again, mark my words, these guys are wrong. I don't care what Yahoo says. I don't care who claims to be an expert. This information I think is bad information for you guys. Here's what Yahoo is saying about Cohen. Now they're saying Cohen, of course, same backfield as Howard. They're saying Howard has already fallen into a clear-cut committee with Cohen. His fantasy value is serious question. It's going to be a running back 2 going forward. And so basically what they're saying is this guy had such an impressive week 1 that now it's a running back by committee. They couldn't be more wrong. And here's why. I think Cohen's going to be a great explosive back. I think he has PPR value. But because of his size, this is not a guy that's going to become an every down back. He's not going to see 20, 25 carries a game. It's simply not going to happen. If you look at the size, Cohen, once again, he comes in at 5'6", 176 pounds. Now if you look at Howard, Howard's 225. That's a 50-pound difference. Howard can handle the punishment in the NFL. He can run between the tackles. He can get 20, 30 carries a game. He's successful last year. I think Cohen has a role in this offense, but I think it's in the passing game. In fact, as you probably heard, and maybe you didn't hear, White went down with a season-ending injury. It's the 3rd year in a row that guy's just been a snake bit, as they say, bad luck. And so with him out and with all these guys out, with Merritt out, a lot of wideouts, I think you're going to see him used a lot in the passing game, leaving Howard to get the rushes and the carries. In fact, if you look at this game right now, Howard out-carried him 13-5. And I think the reason why Howard didn't get more carries was later in the game when they were behind 2 touchdowns, they started throwing the ball more once again. So I think Cohen's a great pick, but don't overpay for this guy. Huge value in a PPR league, but he's not going to become an every down back. Once again, that's just not going to be the case. But he is certainly somebody you may want to pick up. Here's the next guy to keep an eye on out there. Kenny Golladay. Now, Kenny Golladay, we actually highlighted him in a video back in August, and it was called a deep sleeper video, and we said you got to keep an eye on this guy. He's done a lot to get our attention, certainly. One thing that we love about him is his great size at 6'4". He's huge, and he's got a smaller frame. he's a little bit underweight, I guess you would say, about 215 for a guy at 6'4", but they're saying that he can put weight on that body, he can bulk up a little bit, get physical, but once again, at 6'4", he's a huge target. He made some athletic plays. In fact, this last weekend, he went out and he had 2 touchdowns, 4 catches for 69 yards. He had a great first game, and some of his catches were athletic. He just had to leap over offenders. He had to fight for the ball. He looked great. Now, I want to say this. He's going to be, I think, a great guy. I think he's got a wonderful value, especially in keeper leagues or dynasty leagues. But he still is behind Tate and Jones, and he will be for a while. So you'll see there'll be certain games that he will disappear. But here's the thing with a guy like him. He's got potential. He's got a great future. But if you let him sit out there for a week or 2 or 4 or 5 weeks waiting for him to develop until he moves into the number 2 guy, some other team's going to snatch this guy up. And so once Kenny's a great pick out there, had a great first week, 4 catches, 69 yards, 2 TDs. Want to pick this guy up, throw him on your bench. That leads to me in my next pick, and I love this guy. Cooper Kupp. Kind of got a man crush on this guy. I've liked him from the first time he came in the league. Now, why do I like this guy? Well, there's a lot of reasons to like this kid at wideout. At 6'2", he's got some talent, he's been successful. But what I like about him is his workman-like approach to the game. He's got a great attitude. He wants to be successful. He always comes in prepared. In fact, the coach has said he's never seen a rookie come in this prepared as Cooper has come in. So once again, we're really hyped on this guy. He was another guy that we had highlighted in our deep sleeper video. Now, early on, he looked great in the preseason, and in this game, he looked great also. In fact, he had 4 catches, 76 yards, and 1 TD. In fact, the reason why he didn't have a bigger game, quite honestly, is the Rams were blowing out the Colts. And so that game was done by the time the first half was over already. They had a 30-point lead early in that game, and so they didn't have to throw the ball. But he looked great going into the season. He looked great in the first game. This guy's number 2 on the depth chart. He's a guy that you have to pick up. In fact, a lot of leagues, he's already been snatched up. He's probably not even out there in yours. I think he's available in about 50 to 60% of the leagues. Once again, if he is out there, grab this guy, because after this week, he won't be out there. Once again, Cooper Kupp is a guy for you to pick up. Another guy out there that showed something this week, and a guy that we also highlighted in Deep Sleeper video, and that's George Kittle. He's a tight end. Now, what do we like and what do we don't like? Well, what do we like is he had 5 catches for 27 yards. He saw a lot of targets, okay? And he plays for a team that really struggled, and I think is going to continue to struggle. In fact, I think what you're going to see is they struggle. One, they're going to be playing from behind a lot, which means they have to throw the ball a lot, which means a lot of targets. But I think what's also going to happen is because this team is not very good and they're rebuilding, is defenses, when they play San Francisco, they're going to be able to pin back their ears and rush the quarterback. Well, you know what that means? That means a lot of dump offs, a lot of check downs, a lot of those short passes to help them in these pressure situations often go to the tight end. And they like this guy. And we had kind of pointed out before, is they trade away Vance McDonald because they felt like this guy could come in and start as a rookie. They started him. He got lots of looks, lots of catches. He's a guy that if you're looking for a tight end, you're struggling, and you're maybe in a deeper league, he's a guy that you definitely want to take a look at. Once again, I'm not saying he's up there top 10 or top 5, not even close to that, but he's certainly a guy that's trending the right direction. George Kittle. So on to our next waiver wire pickup, Nelson Agholor. Now, Nelson Agholor, a lot of people kind of lost interest in him. Now, coming into camp this year, they began to talk up Nelson. They began to talk about coaches and other players in his team there, started saying how great he looked, how he was going to have a much more prominent role, and they thought he was going to have a breakout year. But unfortunately, you hear that all the time with a lot of coaches. So how do we know when it's hype or when it's real? Well, they traded away Matthews. That's one of the things that they had done. Now, when they traded away Matthews on Philadelphia, I think a lot of people thought, okay, Jeffrey's going to be the number 1 guy. The number 2 guy will be Torrey Smith. He'll slide into that role. But as it seems to look to me, it's not going to be Torrey Smith. It's going to be Nelson Agholor. It's going to be in that number 2 spot. He had a great game today. 6 catches, 86 yards, and a TD. And a lot of people forget he was a first-round pick. This is a guy that was a first-round pick that a couple years ago everybody thought was going to become a great wide receiver. Now, there used to be kind of this philosophy. Now, the trend's been bucked more recent years, but it used to kind of go like this. That it took a while up the 3rd year. It was in his 3rd year that he really kind of blossomed. So if you go back on that mentality, that means that Nelson Agholor in his 3rd year, this could be his breakout year once again. I think this guy's poised to have a good year. He's a guy you want to pick up if you need a wide out. Nelson Agholor, pick this guy up, put him on your bench, whatever it is. Now on to the next guy I want to discuss in the waiver wire. Now this one's more of a caution here. Here's what I want to talk about. Austin Hooper, tight end of the Atlanta Falcons. Now he had a big game. He had 128 yards and a TD. So I can just see the excitement and the hype. But let me caution you there, okay? Sometimes the numbers don't tell the whole story. In the game, he had 2 catches, he had 128 yards, right? But he only had 2 targets. And to me, that's a major concern when he only gets 2 targets. He's not going to get that volume. There's a lot of mouths to feed, there's a lot of weapons in that offense. And once again, he's not going to get that volume of targets. Now, once again, he's young. He's somebody I would keep an eye on. But don't grab this guy. Don't get excited right away. And if you look at the game, he had an 88-yard touchdown, but it was really on a broken play. And so when you're depending to pad your stats and you're depending on broken plays like that, where really the guy had to scramble, he got lost in coverage, the whole thing, once again, it was fun to watch, but the reality is he can't sustain that production on broken plays like that. Once again, watch this guy. He's young, but don't let the stats fool you. With only 2 targets, this guy's not a viable option. Once again, he maybe is a plug and play if you're desperate at tight end. Don't get caught up in the Austin Hooper hype just yet. So let's continue our conversation about tight ends, guys, to take a look at out there. Jesse James. Jesse James had 6 catches, 41 yards, 2 TDs. Now, I'm going to say this about Jesse James. I don't think he's a great tight end, but I think he's a quality tight end. And I think he's a decent option at tight end. And all those years they had Heath Miller, and I think Pittsburgh's been searching for that guy to fill that role. And I think they found him in Jesse James. Once again, if you can move forward, depending upon the start, certain situation, but he's certainly a guy that in the right situation I'd be comfortable starting. Jesse James is a viable tight end option at this point. He's settled into that role. Ben likes him. I think you're going to see he's going to begin to put up some sort of consistent numbers like Heath Miller. Jesse James, keep an eye on him. On to the next guy. Now, I know it seems like kickers don't matter, but I have won and lost games because a kicker. A point here and there that I have lost. So a kicker does matter. And a kicker out there had a good game, and this is a great story, is the Oakland kicker Trevecchio. Now this guy's been tossed around the league for years, and he's been on practice squads. Well, Janikowski, he got put on the IR, and so this guy got brought up, and he had a great game. He was 4 for 4 in field goals with 2 50 yards. In fact, he hit 2 52-yarders. He had a 40-plus yarder and a 20-plus yarder, and so he was 4 for 4, looked great, kicked the ball well. And I think it's not just a one-week fill-in. With Janikowski on the IR, the fact that he's 39 years old, he's making $3 million a year, it'd be very easy for them to move past Janikowski and give this guy the job, and I think he's going to keep it. In fact, I think his job to keep. So once again, Trevecchio, great option at kicker. Keep an eye on him. So here's my next waiver wire team to consider. The Jaguars defense. Now they dominated today. They had 10 sacks. Count them, 10 sacks. Now we have to put that in perspective because it was against Houston, and Houston's got problems, okay? But once again, I don't think that's a fluke necessarily. In fact, the Jags defense, if you look at the team, they have put a ton of effort into improving their defense the past 3 years. They've spent a lot of money in free agents, a lot of high draft picks. In fact, in our preseason rankings on the Fantasy Football Profits site, fantasyfootballprofits.com, that's profits with an S. Here's what we said about Jaguars in our preseason rankings. We said this: no one's worked harder and added more to improve their defense than the Jags. This year will start paying dividends, and we ranked them in our top 10. So once again, the Jags are for real. It's not just that Houston's bad, which they got issues, but the Jaguars have a solid defense. They're a team that you can start to run out there week in and week out and expect them to produce. Next waiver wire claim to look at is Allen Hurns. Now, Allen's not an exciting pick. He's not a sexy pick per se, but I think he'll be a productive pick. And maybe you didn't know it, but Allen Robinson went down with a season-ending ACL injury today. So somebody's got to fill that void. Somebody's got to get the targets. I think Allen Robinson's going to be that guy. In fact, in 2015, many forget he had over 1,000 yards and 10 TDs. So he's showing he can be productive when he's on the field. Now, I think sometimes the mistake that we make, and I've done this before, where I look at a guy like him and he's not overly excited. You're not going to think this guy's going to become a great player for years to come, and so you can kind of pass on him. He's more of a situational play, but don't underestimate the value of just picking up a quality player that's going to see targets, that's going to produce. Another guy besides Hurns to consider, and that would be Marquise Lee. Once again, Allen Robinson down with an ACL tear today. Now, we said it going into this week. We knew that big players would begin to fall, get hurt, and it's going to happen. It's no way to avoid it. Sucks if you have him, and I actually have him in one of my leagues. I'm disappointed, but you know what? Everybody's going to have to fight through injuries to make it to the championship. That's part of the game. On to our next waiver wire guy to take a look at, Chris Thompson. Now, this guy is mostly a PPR guy. Okay, in fact, we highlighted them in a PPR video we had called PPR Studs. And what we said in that video is we expect him to have around 60 catches this year and 800 yards, around 6 TDs, and that's very attainable for him. And the reason why we said that is the coaches love this guy in that role. They lost Garcon and Jackson. We believe those targets are going to go to him, and so the coaches love him in that. Well, today he goes out, 4 catches, 52 yards, a beautiful touchdown. And I think another thing that I think bodes well for him is that they didn't run the ball very effectively. Kelly, I think, had 10 carries for 30 yards. That's 3 yards per carry. It didn't look pretty. They were stuck in the mud. So I think they're going to have to pass the ball a lot. I think they're going to integrate him into the offense more. We like Chris Thompson, primarily in a PPR league. If you're in a standard scoring league, I'm not sure if you want to use him quite yet. To our next guy, Jared Goff. Now, we covered him in the sleeper video also. He was a guy that we said, don't overlook this guy. Today he went out in 306 yards and 1 TD. And would have had a bigger game, but they didn't need to throw the ball in the second half because they were destroying the Colts. But a lot of people forget that this guy was the #1 overall pick last year, and he's got good weapons around him. Sammy Watkins, Cooper Kupp, Tavon Austin, and Todd Gurley catches the ball well for a running back. I think all these things bode well for him. Now, there's still going to be some growing pains with Goff, so I would say that he'd pick up. He wouldn't be my #1 quarterback, but here's where he's at. He's a guy that could be a plug and play for you in certain bye weeks. Once again, we highlighted him that he's a sleeper. He went out, had a good first week. I think it bodes well for him in the future. Once again, don't pick him up to be your #1 guy, but certainly you can use him in the right situation. Jared Goff. So next, I want to get to another free agent waiver wire discussion. And I'm not going to tell you to pick up Alex Smith, although he had a great first week, right? In fact, he was #1 of all quarterbacks. He was phenomenal. He had over 300 yards. He had 4 TDs. He looked great. He had a great hunt running the ball, which catches the ball in the backfield. He'll look great. I mean, the team looked really good. The offense looked potent. But I want to caution you here with Alex Smith. He started hot before. This isn't the first time. If you go back in previous years, what you'll find is back in 2014, playing the Patriots also, he had 248 yards and 3 TDs. For some reason, he seems to have their number. Last year, he started hot. First game, he had 363 yards passing and 2 TDs. Back in 2014, in September, 2 games early on in September, he went 6 TD passes to 0 picks. Looks like he was going to have a breakout year. Let's not forget that this guy's been in the league for quite a while, and his career high is 23 touchdown passes. Now, here's why I think he's not going to have a phenomenal year. Now, he may break his high water mark of 23 touchdowns, but even if he hits 24 or 25, that makes him a decent quarterback. It doesn't make him a great quarterback. There's a lot of other ones that put those numbers up. But here's why I think that was kind of an anomaly. Every quarterback in the league will have one game like that, okay? It just happens. But Kansas City and Andy Reid, their bread and butter is running the ball and playing defense. And so they threw the ball well. Some was there. They took advantage of it. I think when it's all said and done, though, Alex Smith is not going to be a phenomenal quarterback this year. Don't get too excited because of his week 1. He's done this before. He's had great starts, and then he's turned out to be a above average fantasy quarterback. And real football, he's probably great. He's what we call a game manager. So once again, don't get caught up in the Alex Smith hype just yet. Here's another guy I want to discuss. A lot of people want to pick up this week is Danny Amendola. Mitchell's down. He's on the IR. Edelman's down. They're running out of wideouts. Danny Edelman comes in. He has a good week. 6 catches, 100 yards before he goes down with concussion. Okay. So is he the option? Is he going to fill into that Edelman role? Is he going to get those targets? Well, I think you have to be careful here. Once again, I like Danny Amendola. I think if he could stay healthy, he could probably produce some great numbers, but he can't stay healthy. In fact, before this game, New England had said they're going to limit his reps this year so he can stay healthy. And then sure enough, in the first game, he has a concussion. So once again, just verifying that. And here's the other reason why I think I'd be very careful with Danny Amendola at this point. There's just too many mouths to feed there. Don't forget, you have 2 tight ends. You got Allen, you got Gronk, you got Cooks, got some other wideouts there, and you got a lot of running backs. You got Lewis, White, Rex Burkhead. So there's a lot of guys there that can catch the ball. There's just too many mouths to feed. He can't stay healthy. And so, no, he's not a guy that I would spend too much on. He's not a guy that I'm really excited about at this point. So just be careful, not overpay or overstretch or overreach for this guy. On to another guy, Coleman. I like this guy going into the year. And I think, once again, he plays for Cleveland, so it's easy to forget him. They don't have a great quarterback situation. But one, he's a first-round pick. People forget that he's a first-round pick who shined at times last year. In fact, last year in week 2, he had 104 yards and 2 TDs. Now he had some injuries. There's bad quarterback play, and he was kind of forgotten. But he's looking really good so far, and I think he's the best wide on that team by far. Now, he's a little bit smaller, But then so again, Antonio Brown's not big, Hilton's not big, and neither was Steve Smith, and these guys carved out really, really good careers for them. And so Corey Coleman's a guy that definitely, if he's out there, I would snatch him up. He's a guy that I really like, that I think could be huge. If he's out there, snatch up Corey Coleman. Another guy out there, Jermaine Kearse. He got traded from Seattle. The Jets had traded away defensive tackle. They got a wideout. They need it. They've had a lot of injuries. Now, this guy's had a decent career as a kind of a number 2 or number 3 wideout, but not a great career, just decent. But he goes from being the number 2 or number 3 option down to the number 1 guy for a team that desperately needs somebody to catch the ball. They're going to be playing from behind. And he looked good in week 1. He had a lot of targets, he had a lot of looks, he caught the ball a lot. I don't know if he's going to see a lot of yardage. I don't know if he's going to see the end zone a lot. Probably not. It's the Jets. They're not very good. But once again, in a PPR league, he's a guy that I think can easily get 80 catches this year for you if he can stay healthy. Jermaine Kearse is a good wide receiver option out there. Now this goes to a segment that I'm going to do all year long, okay? And it's a defense that I would pick up. And I do it under a segment called The Jets Suck, okay? I'm no ill will towards Jets fans. I feel bad. I hope you guys can rebuild. I hope you can get back on track. But your team is not very good. You're in a rebuilding year. You struggled against the Bills. The Bills aren't a great team. You're going to struggle all year long. And so for me, I'm going to plug in and I'm going to play whatever defense is playing the Jets this year. And this week, it turns out it's going to be the Oakland defense. And so I'm going to pick them up. They're available in one league. Assuming I can get them, I'm going to plug them and play Oakland versus the Jets. Once again, that's a good play for you there. Oakland defense because they're playing the Jets. So these are just a few names to consider. Hope you guys had a good first week. Love to hear from you. Love to hear your suggestions. But if you want more specific information, give us a shout out on our Facebook site. Check us out on YouTube. And then the other thing is we have a game that we play. It's called the Not the Top 20. And it's a game where you go onto our site. It's free. It costs you nothing. You get to submit a lineup based on our rankings, but they can't be in the top 20. So it tests how deep your knowledge is of fantasy football. Each week we have a winner, the team with the most points. At the end of the year, we draw out one name and they get an NFL jersey of your choosing. Thanks for joining us today.